68. First up, though, you might just remember that before the Easter long weekend, the PM dropped his government's response to the landmark report into gambling ads. Now, we spoke on that day to leading advocate for gambling reform, the Reverend Tim Costello, about the proposed reforms. This is what he told us.
Reducing the ads, you might say, is a good thing to 3 an hour, but imagine if we had 3 cigarette ads an hour and said, job is done. Well, cigarettes are legal and they're an adult product like gambling. It's timid in that respect.
Today, we are joined by Anna Bardsley, who's in a unique position to discuss this approach to gambling harm. She founded Glee, Gambling Harm Lived Experience Experts, having survived over a decade of gambling harm herself. She also contributed to the Peter Murphy report, which is the report that this response was based on. Anna Bardsley, good afternoon.
Hi, Prue. Thanks for having me.
Now, you have, like other gambling reform advocates, been awaiting a response on this report for over 1,000 days. Was the response worth it in your view?
No. In one word, no. And I thought it was, I think Tim was being quite polite, actually. I'd call it piss weak.
So let's just quickly go over some of the things that the government has committed to doing. So TV ads from betting agencies will be capped at 3 an hour between 6 a.m. and 8:30. So basically daytime viewing, you will only ever see at most 3 gambling ads per hour on telly. They're banned completely from live sports broadcasts during those hours as well. They'll be banned from radio during school pick-up and drop-off time. Celebrities and sports players will not be permitted to appear in gambling advertising. Online platforms will have gambling ads banned unless people have a logged-in account, are over 18 and have the option to opt out. And you won't see them on players' and officials' uniforms or in sports venues as well. Now, we have sort of matching those up to the recommendations. The recommendations in that report went far further, didn't they, Anna?
They did. It was recommended in the report that there was a phasing out of gambling ads. It was never meant to be chopped, they're all gone in one go, because the committee realised that needed to be phased in, and we accepted that. But this is not a phased out anything. This is where we should have been 1,000 days ago. We should have done this a long time ago, and not just 3 an hour, but no gambling ads during family viewing time. Why would we allow any gambling ads during family viewing time?
You contributed to the Peter Murphy's report. What do you think she would have made? Of course, you know, the late Peter Murphy was very instrumental in getting this up, and it was a very strong report at the time. What do you think she would have made of these recommendations or the decision last week?
Well, I think she'd be deeply disappointed. I have to say that the being involved with that committee was a heartwarming, not heartwarming. It was a good experience for us because they were respectful. They listened with open hearts. They were moved by the stories, and I went with several people and supported them, spoke myself and supported other people to speak, and I could see how visibly moved they were by the stories that they heard. And it was a unanimous decision amongst them all. They all agreed that gambling harm in Australia is outrageous and needs to be curbed. And here we are, 1,000 days later, and Mr Albanese stood next to her on her last day in Parliament and promised that he would see it through, that he would stand by her legacy, and he has not done that.
Why are you so passionate about this? What is it about advertising that you think is so key to reducing harm?
Advertising will not only removing advertising will not only reduce harm, it will prevent harm. Because what we're doing in allowing advertising on any level at all of this dangerous adult addictive product is that we're priming our children. They're getting a neural pathway in their brain that will never leave that says gambling is normal. Gambling is a normal part of life, that it's normal to watch sport and to be involved in sport, to even care about sport and gamble at the same time. That it's normal to watch even a program like Married at First Sight and hang on, sorry, I've got you on the computer as well. There we go. It's normal even to watch to watch something like Married at First Sight and put a bet on who's going to win or who's going to do what. And that's outrageous. Why would we want that for our children, for our grandchildren, for their children? And if we can prevent people ending up in that deeply harmful space that gambling addiction is, people are dying because of this. Young people are dying. They are taking their life because they don't know how to get out of it.
We have heard from some organisations, Anna, though, that particularly around television and free-to-air television, that their reliance on gambling advertising is such that if this was basically turned off at the spigot, much of our free-to-air commercial television would not be able to survive. Now, I know that you are not here to be an apologist for the commercial television stations, but do you sympathise at all?
Yes and no. I understand what they're saying, that they will lose an income stream, which is important to keeping them viable. But there are other options besides them literally selling their souls and putting a dangerous product on their airways and saying, well, we need the money. And in any business, if you have a product that A, is not serving you well, or is not making you the right amount of money, or is just, in this case, unethical, then go and look for another product. They might need to work a little bit harder to find other advertising to replace it, but they can. This happened when talk of banning tobacco advertising and sponsorship came in, and I'm old enough to remember it. It was the sky is falling, Sport said they'll never manage. Televisions and radios and newspapers said we need the advertising. It's not true. The sky didn't fall. They found other revenue streams. And if the government wanted to, for instance, how about if it's regional television stations, how about we give any local business other than gambling who advertises on the airways, give them a tax dodge, give them a tax break for doing that.
Anna, just before I let you go, you are somebody who, I know we've spoken to you in the past about your experience of gambling harm many years ago. Do those ads, and look, we all see them. We see them online. You probably heard them on the radio. You may have seen them on telly. Do they still affect you? How do you feel when you see them?
They still affect me. Any product that was one of the ones that I used will still jog something in my brain. And I have to say it's 13, 14 years since I gave any money to the gambling industry. And I'm never going to give them another dollar. And you would think after all of that time, I don't think about it all the time anymore, so it's major progress. It's not an option for me anymore, but there is still something in my brain that goes ding when that happens. Imagine what it's like when you're trying to stop and that stuff is constantly going ding at you. So removing the ads will prevent that harm and reduce that harm, and it'll also prevent the harm of future generations.
Anna, thank you so much for your thoughts on that today.
Thanks, Prue.
Anna Bardsley is the co-founder of GLEE, Gambling Harm Lived Experience Experts. They have a lot of people who've been through it themselves, and they are very much advocates for reducing gambling harm in the community. And Anna was saying, Tim Costello's suggestion, it is a timid response from the government, responding to the Peter Murphy report. She says that's pretty polite. She used a very different word for it. Pretty disappointing, she says. And particularly just before the Easter break, I think that there was certainly a fair few eyebrows raised about the timing of that announcement as well. 27 to 5 here on ABC Statewide Drive. Mark has said, G'day crew, no celebs in gambling ads. I wonder, does that include voiceovers? I would imagine if the voice was very recognisable, Mark, that would be the case. But yeah, being a celebrity, it can be a subjective thing these days, can't it, Mark? Thank you very much for your text on 0467 842